In today's video, we're going to be talking about tracking inside Davinci Resolve, and I'm going to cover it from the basics to more advanced, and hopefully it will help you guys to understand what is tracking all about and how to get the best possible result. Here I have the shot from the raw film cinematic stock footage platform. Be sure to check them out. I have a nice 25% link in the description below for you guys. So let me get this window a little bit bigger. And here we have a nice panning shot. Well, first thing you always have to do is to make sure that your footage has enough contrast. Tracking, whether it's a planar tracking or it's a point tracking, loves to have contrast. So the program can actually hook up to something, and the more contrast you have, the better for the program to recognize the difference between what you're tracking and the surroundings. What you can do, you can just increase the contrast and saturation, and that's good to go. In my case, just to make things a little bit nicer, I'm going to use my film lot for red. I'm just going to drop it over here. That way we have a nice vivid background going on. So here's our shot. Now, let's analyze this really quick. Let's say I want to track the hill. A lot of times people select all of these pan, tilt, zoom, rotation, and perspective, and they think they're going to get better results. Well, it's actually false. What happens when you select all of them, but you don't have all of the movement going on? You're actually confusing the program. So the computer calculates everything longer, and you get not accurate tracking result. Never select more than you have to. So let's really quick analyze what's going on. We have camera moving and then it's stopping. Okay, so we don't have any perspective, we don't have any rotation, and we definitely don't have any zoom. So technically what we have is a pan, but I always recommend just to leave pan and tilt together by default. So I'm going to do a new node, and in the window I'm going to select the pen tool, and I'm going to roughly give it basic shape of this hill. Okay, something like this. Okay, something like that, and we're going to connect it. So this is very basic shape. Now let's go in the tracker, and what I'm going to do, just start tracking backwards, and we can see that we're going to get a very nice track. Okay, now depending on your computer, like I said, the larger area you're tracking, the longer it's going to take. But if you have good computer, fast hard drive, stuff like that, it's going to be much quicker. And like I said, I have all the links in the description if you guys want to see what computer I'm using and other possible builds, all the links down below. So we can see that this tracker going a little bit outside, which is okay. We can fix that very easily. Once the tracking is done, and by the way, let's come back to the point over here and track a little bit forward. So we have complete tracking data. Okay, let's go again here. Once this is done, we can just simply extend this without affecting the track. Okay, so now we can see we have the whole thing nice and tracked, and the tracker is absolutely perfect. So what you're going to do from here, it's your business. You can add contrast, or you can make everything greener. Whatever you want to decide. Now the tracking is perfect, so it's good to go. Okay, so this is very basic example. Now let's go into a little bit more advanced. Okay, another shot from raw film over here. It was shot on the Inspire 2. Okay, let me do a new node, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna drop really quick my lot on it. That way we have nice basic image. Okay, like that. So here we have it. I'm gonna do a new node, and let's say in this case I wanna track this little hill right over here. So what I'm gonna do, you can use either pen or circle. in this case, I'm going to use circle to demonstrate it to you. Okay, we're going to create it like this. And I'm just going to start moving it down. Okay, and depending how your brain works, you can see either circle getting squished or we're actually rotating in 3D. So I'm going to feather it down. I'm going to rotate a little bit. Again, we can see how this thing works. Okay, so let's say this is our little area. Okay, just like that. Now, if we're going to go in the tracker, let me make this a little bigger. If we're going to go in the tracker, now we actually have, let's play it forward. We have everything going on. We have zoom, we have rotation, and we have perspective. So in this case, all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 5 of them is okay. And because everything is uniformed, we can actually start tracking from the very first frame. Okay, I'm going to track forward, and we can see how tracking is very accurate, and it looks very nice. So it's holding on to that position very nicely. This is very important. Okay, and if we're going to play it back, we can see the tracking is rock solid. Again, here you can do whatever you want. And the tracking is very solid again. Let's see, let's change the hue. Oops, I'm tweaking it in the wrong window. So let's say we want to make this one bright and change the hue a little bit. Okay, this is what we got. So it looks like it's belonged there. Very nice. Now let's talk a little bit about more complex. For example, shot like this one. Again, this one from the raw film. Let me bring the color to it. Again, I'm going to drop that red lot into it so we have nice basic color going on. I'm going to do new node, and let's analyze this really quick. We can see that the rider getting towards the camera, and she kind of moving a little bit left and right. But, you know, it's not that much difficult to actually solve this. So in this case, I can use span, and this is very nice, by the way, in the middle. Nice shot. So what we can do, we can select all this, okay, like that. And by the way, make sure to select also shadow, because shadow is a part of it. Unless you have lighting moving. Let's say you have explosions going on or something, and there's a different light sources. In that case, do not select shadows. Okay, so this one is very nice. Again, we have pan, tilt, zoom, rotation. But we don't have perspective going on, so we can uncheck this. We're not going to confuse our tracker. And let's start moving forward. Okay, and we can see that our tracking is rock solid again. Okay, let's wait until this whole thing is finished. Okay, just like this. And from here, let's go a little bit backwards. And we can see that zoom does the job very nicely. And now I'm going to demonstrate to you guys what happens when you don't select properly. So as we can see here again, the tracking is excellent. Okay, so I'm going to reset the tracking. Let's say I'm not going to select zoom. Okay, let me get into frame. Okay, so let's track, see if you select the wrong sections, how it's going to look. Okay, so here we have it. It's moving forward, and we can see already how the rider start falling outside the track because we did not select things appropriately, and the tracker is not zooming in or out, and it just stays there. So in other words, this is very crappy tracking, and it's not gonna work. And we can see the difference. Okay, very big difference. So make sure to select zoom, okay, and it's gonna be good to go. Okay, now let's do to more complex example. Okay, another shot from raw film. Again, let me drop my LUT really quick so it looks nice. Let's see. Okay, something like that. And I want to track the car. So let's type in car. Car. All right, perfect. And we have over here interesting shot. So let's find kind of relatively neutral point. And I think the neutral point is going to be somewhere from beginning. I think this is good representation basically for our car. So let's go in the window, and with the pen again, I'm going to do a little quick outline of the car. Okay, so something like this. Kind of garbage mask. And let's go back in the tracking. So in this case, we have everything happening. Pan, tilt, zoom, rotation, and perspective. So let's select that, and let's start tracking all that. And we can see that the tracking is, again, looks like rock solid. Okay, so what we can do now, because we have this like a little tail, a little excess. If we're going to go into the frame, so by default you're going to be on a clip. If we're going to go into the frame, we can manually animate the mask. Okay, make sure you want a last frame. And I simply don't want to be that big of a car. Let's say you have a client with you. You don't want to kind of make those joker tracks like that because they're going to think you don't know what you're doing. So we can make tracking a little bit more neat. This is, again, more like a cosmetic actual doing. People like stuff like that. So now let's go back, and we can see how this track gets automatically animated and shrinks towards the end. Now, if you want to be more aggressive with that, again, you can do it earlier. It will shrink much faster. Okay. Something like this. And we can see that the frame created the point, the key point, and we can see how that works. Okay, so once you have this track, it's very simple. If, let's say, you want to change the color of the car, you can do it either in qualifier, or you can simply go to the hue versus hue, select car, and just start adjusting. Okay, and we can see how we have a fantastic tracking going on, and we can even probably feather it more. And now he looks like a crazy rich person driving purple car. Now, this method is, of course, not as accurate because we kind of have a little spill in the background. But you got the point. And finally, okay, this is something I've shot on Blackmagic Pocket. Let me get my LUT on it. That way we have a nice neutral start. Okay. So here's a shot. And let's say now I want to do something different. I want to stabilize this, but I want to make it look a little bit unique. Well, if you watched Sherlock Holmes, they have this very nice effect when the Germans firing that cannon at them and they're running and the camera kind of look all crazy. It's actually very easy to do. I'm going to show it to you. So let's create a new node, and we're going to call this one track. Okay, let's kind of play it back, and I think her eyes would be a good point because she's not blinking, well, almost not blinking, and I think that's a good tracking position. So I'm going to go in the track, but this time I'm going to do something different. Instead of the window, I'm going to select stabilizer. And over here you have controls, but you don't have enough controls. You have cropping ratio, you have smooth, strength, camera lock, and zoom. This is not enough for me. So I'm going to click on those 3 dots and I'm going to select Classic Stabilizer. So now I have something a little bit different. Instead of the cloud tracker, I'm going to select Point Tracker. And once I click on this arrow with this little plus, it's going to create a little point. So let me put it on her eye. Okay. So something like that. And we have pan, tilt, zoom, and rotation. Have you noticed that there's no perspective? Okay. Let me cover that. So now we can start calculating forward. And just keep your eye on it to see if your track is actually pretty good. And yes, I like how it looks. And once I click stabilize, you're going to see a really crazy effect. Okay, so here our stabilized shot. And when you do this, by the way, shoot a little bit wider. And if I'm going to play it back, you can see that we have this Sherlock Holmes effect, how it's stabilized on her face and the background kind of look a little bit crazy. Now, I highly recommend shooting things like that at a higher frame rate and a little bit wider so you have, more information to hook into, but you got the point. So Davinci really have very powerful stabilizing effects, and depending on the computer, if your computer is strong enough, you can really pull crazy effects like this one. So hopefully this helped you out a little bit if you're a beginner with Davinci Resolve, or even if you're intermediate and didn't know about this kind of stuff. Leave a comments below, guys. I'll see ya in the next video. Take care.